You guys, what's good? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. So hopefully you're having a jacked day, and hopefully now I make your day a little bit more jacked. So today what we're covering is how to set up your own workout program. And the biggest theme here is, say you structure the workout program based on what I have here. Make sure you actually follow this consistently for a while and stay consistent. That's what's going to lead to the long-term results, okay? But I'm going to dive right into it. Let's get juicy, let's get jacked. Number one, the intention is going to be based on your goal, right? So the workout structure has to be based on what you want to do, what you want to achieve. And again, training component is going to be one part of it. The other equation is nutrition, sleep, all that stuff that I talk about. But for training component, if your goal is strength, physique development, or just overall function, sorry about my writing, but hopefully you are listening to what I'm saying, strength, physique, function, that will dictate your workout actual split, right? So first thing is pick your goal. Whether your goal is to get strong on like the squat, bench, deadlift, whether your goal is physique development, like do you want like a men's physique look, like bigger shoulders, bigger arms, smaller waist, like what's your intention, and is your goal just overall function? Like the dads I work with, usually some of their function is like, I want to make sure I get up and down, play with my kid without hip pain, knee pain, stuff like that, right? So the goal matters a lot here, right? That will dictate the split. The second big thing is how many days can you actually train, okay? And I'm not gonna give you guys the most optimal days of training, right? Because the optimal day of training, the optimal amount of days of training is based on how many days can you actually train consistently for a long time. And that's gonna depend person to person. When I was in university, I can go ham, I can go train 6 days a week, no problem. Easy money, wake up whenever I want to, do my work, school work, and then go back to the gym later that day, right? Eat whatever food I want, mad relaxed, no stress. But as I get older, like now I'm 30 now, right? More responsibilities, I wanna do more things. I can't train 6 days a week because I don't even recover from it, but it doesn't fit into my schedule as well, right? So how many days can you train? Pick that based on your current lifestyle and what you can do long term sustainably, okay? This is really important. Just because someone says 6 days, 4 days, 5 days, doesn't matter. Whatever days you can train consistently is what's gonna lead to results, is what's gonna lead to results, okay? So first, pick your goal. Second, how many days can you actually train? And now the third big thing is we're gonna pick the split, okay? This will also dictate, it's gonna be dictated based on how much time we have in the gym. Usually, like if someone's doing 3 days, most of the time I'll recommend do a full body split, right? So you hit all your body parts, obviously. And then the other one, if someone's like, wants to be in and out of the gym a little bit quicker, push pull legs ends up working out a little bit faster because you're just focused on a specific muscle group, right? Second, if you're training 4 days a week, upper lower split, or a full body, or a bro split, or a push pull legs upper split. This split is probably one of the best splits in terms of upper body growth, right? Like the push pull legs upper day. So if someone's from Brampton, like a lot of guys I train end up being from Brampton, I end up setting up this split for 4 days. But again, this depends on your goal. If your goal is functionality, a full body is probably the best way to go, or upper lower, because you want that frequency, right? The more frequently you hit a muscle group, you'll get the most out of it. And that's another reason I'm a big promoter of full body, especially when someone's in the beginner stage. 5 days, if you can do 5 days, upper, lower, upper, lower, upper, usually is my go-to, or a push-pull legs, upper, lower. Again, this depends on what you kind of want. My recommended splits, if you're training 3 days a week, full body, so you're hitting the muscle group more frequently throughout the week. If you're doing 4 days, upper, lower is usually my go-to. And then if you're doing 5 days, push-pull legs, upper, lower is my go-to, okay? That way the time isn't crazy. If you just want to, obviously one big component here that I'll write it down right now. If you can read this is enjoyment, right? So make sure like whatever split you choose, you actually enjoy doing it. Don't just choose something optimal for the time being, even though progression and whatever gains you make is the most fun. But make sure you do pick a split that you enjoy. Like I have guys that run bro split. I have guys that have like arm days and shit like that. That's fine. It's because that's what they enjoy doing. Okay. So now you have where your goal is. How many days can you actually sustainably train for a long time? And then what kind of split you want to do. Now, when it comes to exercise selection, obviously this is going to depend a lot. Again, this is a more generic video, but it's going to depend a lot on your mobility currently. What stage of training are you in? Are you a beginner? What equipment your gym has? And then this is something I can get more specific in. Like I'll probably make a separate video on exercise selection alone, right? For like upper body and like a lower body day. But the way I would structure the exercise in your workout program, first step is pick some exercises that prime you for the workout. And what I mean by this is like, say for example, you're doing a leg day, right? Don't just go run on the treadmill before squatting, right? You want to do movements that get you into a better squat position, right? So something like a 90-90, which helps your hip internal rotation, something like a split squat or like a hinge movement, right? Those things will get the hips moving, which will prime our hips. And then obviously you do warm-up sets for your main movement, which may be a squat, right? So make sure you pick primer movements first. Upper body wise, like you can pick pull aparts, dead hangs, even stuff like thread the needle, depending on your mobility, okay? So pick primer movements first. I'll probably spend 2 to 3 exercises here, probably spend around 10 minutes, okay? So I'll put 10 minutes right here. Actually, I won't write because my writing is bad. And the second big thing is you want to pick a compound movement or a specific movement. And the difference here is if your goal is physique and you're trying to grow like, say your arms, maybe instead of starting off with like a squat, maybe on like leg day, you start off with biceps if you're training 4 days a week. That was a little confusing, so I'll make it a better example. If your upper body day is usually like a push day, right? Instead of starting with like a bench press, if your goal is to grow your shoulders or your arms, maybe you can start off with a tricep push down or a dip or maybe like side laterals, okay? So that could be a way where you add specificity to your program. Because if you're trying to bring up a muscle group, a lagging body part, which can be a whole separate video as well, the biggest thing you want to do is train it early in the workout, okay? And obviously what I'll get into in a second, your form matters a lot. But that could be an approach. Or if you're just, training full body, you can choose compound movements. And when I say compound, it doesn't really just have to be squat, bench, and deadlift. It could also be stuff like maybe you're doing a goblet squat, right? Maybe you're doing something like an incline Smith machine press or like a dumbbell press. Or for pull, you're doing some sort of row or like a pull down. It doesn't have to be a pull up, right? It doesn't have to be a deadlift. It could be a dumbbell RDL. It could be a hinge movement. So it doesn't have to be like a typical squat, deadlift, and bench. A lot of my guys, I don't even program that for, right? Because most people just don't have the skill level for it. Because skill acquisition is a big component as well, which I won't get into right now. But yeah, pick bigger movements, obviously, or pick specific movements based on your goal. That's important. And then you end the workout off with some accessories. So you would have like 2 primer exercises. You would have 1 or 2 compound. And then you can have 2 to 3 accessory movements, about 5 to 7 exercises per workout, okay? Sometimes if somebody has like specific goals and they're doing like a bro split, you can get away with like more accessory work because you're not gonna have that much fatigue. Or if you don't have many bigger movements, you can do more machine work, then you can get away with like 7 to 10 exercises. But I would kind of stay within like, right here, I would stay within like 6 to 10 exercises. I don't know why I wrote that like that, but 6 to 10 exercises max, okay? And then 5th will be volume. So once you have your goal, once you have the frequency you're training, once you have the split picked, you obviously have picked the exercises, right? And again, for this, if you need an example, like a 4-day, 5-day split, just DM me or message me wherever you find me. I'll send you a package of like a bunch of exercises and like a 4-day, 5-day sample split. Okay, I'll probably put it in the link bio as well. And then the 5th thing will be the volume. The way I would structure the workout is I don't want to go anything higher than 8 to 12 sets per muscle group for the week. And I don't want to go anything crazier than, I'll put this here, 12 to 16. Here. I don't want to go anything crazier than 12 to 16 working sets per workout. Even that is like a little bit on the higher end. But think about it like this, right? If you're doing quads, okay? If I have quads and have hamstrings, I have all those things. If I'm doing 2 sets of Bulgarians, 2 sets of squats, 2 sets of leg extensions, like if you do hard sets on those 6 sets, your quad should be fried. Like you shouldn't have space for more, right? So like even like 12 to 16 is a lot. I would probably stick within like 10 sets, working sets. But you can get away with a bit more working sets for like your shoulders, arms, things like that, right? So 8 to 12 working sets per muscle group for the week. So you can have like, if you're doing an upper day, like upper lower split, you can on the first upper day, you can do about maybe 4 to 5 chest movements, like a dumbbell press, a cable fly, maybe a machine press. You do 5 sets, okay? And then on the second upper day, you can do another 4 to 5 upper sets, push sets, right? So you can do something like a dip, you can do maybe closed grip Smith, and then you can do maybe a machine fly instead of cable fly, right? So you do another 5 sets. That's 10 sets for that muscle group in that week, okay? So I will stick within the 8 to 12 sets per muscle group for the week. Obviously, this is going to undulate depending on how many days we train and how long we can train for, okay? And then the second big thing is reps. I would keep it between 6 to 20. And I would almost take an approach of like having like couple sets that are like maybe 6 to 10 rep ranges initially when you're improving your form. And then couple exercises, 12 to 15 rep ranges. Easy way I like doing the reps is if I'm doing like more like a compound heavier base movement, I'll probably stick within that 6 to 12 rep range. If I'm doing something like that's more stretch focused, right? Like a low cable bicep curl, a cable fly, even like a Bulgarian split squat, or something that's like squeeze focused, like leg extension, high cable bicep curl. Those ones we're not going to be pushing too much weight on, so doing more reps makes sense, right? Like 12 to 15 reps will be ideal for those exercises, okay? So 6 to 20 rep range in general. You can even go, mad easy. Like, you know what? I'm going to do 5 exercises. I'm going to do 8 to 12 reps for all those exercises. And I'm going to rest 120 minutes or 120 seconds, all exercises. You can just keep it simple like that if you wanted to. But yeah, last point, rest periods. I like keeping it 120 seconds to 180. Sometimes I even go higher than this. Because understand when you're resting, you want to be replenished for the next workout. Just going faster and faster and getting a crazy pump usually doesn't lead to consistent progression. But again, this is where enjoyment is important. If you enjoy that style of training where you like drop sets, supersets, and you're just like doing absurd amount of volume and not resting as much, not pushing as much weight, that is fine as well. But make sure you just track your shit. That way you're making progress, okay? But ideally, keep it simple. 8 to 12 working sets in a week. 12 to 16 working sets max. I would even bring this down, honestly. Let's keep it here. Let's keep it simple. Let's keep it simple right here. I'll go 10 to 12, right? Sets per session and 8 to 12 per week, okay? Per muscle group. And then 6 to 20 reps and then rest 120, 180 seconds. I usually go for the 180, especially for the bigger compound movements, okay? Now, the sixth point is this is where the magic happens. So say now you have a structure ready, set up. Now the biggest thing is you want to make sure you're progressing, right? There's a couple ways to progress. We don't always have to chase more weight in the gym, more load, more load. Couple things will be, number one, is your form improving, right? Because if your form is not good and you're just increasing weight, you're probably going to risk some injury, okay? Second big thing is your range of motion improving. If initially you started Bulgarian split squat, it was like this range, right? And now you're able to go full depth on it. Overall, your range of motion has improved, means you can hit more muscle fibers now. If you were like benching before and you would like come here and your shoulders start to cave forward, now you're able to maintain this position and you're able to go full range of motion, you're getting more muscle fibers activated, right? So improving your form and range of motion are usually the big two initial ones, and especially if your main game is function, those two will be the first ways of making progress. And then usually the third one is reps and then it's load, okay? So when I say reps, you can have a rep range of like 6 to 20, 8 to 12, and every week when you come in, you want to try matching or beating your reps, right? Say for example, first week you come in, you do a bench press like your main working set, not your warm-up sets, right? That's another key actually for the sets. This is all working sets, not warm-up. You do your bench press, first working set, 200 pounds, you get 8 reps. Next week you want to come in, you want to try getting 9 reps until you get to that 12 reps mark for the 8 to 12 rep range. And then over time you can increase load as well. The way I kind of structure workouts, in my opinion, is having a category for the exercises. That's why there's going to be a different video on this, but just for sample, for like a squat or RDL, I usually keep it so it's like form focused, right? Making sure we're just keeping our technique solid on those movements. Something like a single leg lunge, a Bulgarian, or like even like an overhead extension, like for triceps, I'll keep that more range of motion focused. Are we getting full range on that movement or not? And then something like for reps, for example, like a leg extension, a hamstring curl, cable fly. Those are the movements I'll chase more reps on. And then like a Smith press, a leg press, maybe like a RDL. That's where I'll chase load on, because that way I know for a fact I'm making progress, right? So you can have different exercises and different progression metrics. Not all of them have to be load focused, okay? That's really important. And then the last point, all this stuff is waste if you don't track anything and if you don't actually see making progress or not, right? So that's why I'm trying to get jacked up. I get all the guys to track it, and I kind of hone in on this point of like keep tracking your lifts, keep tracking. If you don't track those things, we don't know if we're making progress or not, right? If we're not making progress, our performance is not improving, likelihood is the physique is not going to be changing. And physique changes already take so long that if we're not controlling this variable of actually making progress, we're wasting a lot of time, right? So please track your stuff and make sure you adjust things along the way. I would kind of put a metric of like 3 to 5 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks of plateaus. If you're like noticing your numbers are not improving for like 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row, then I would maybe change things up in the sense maybe drop some volume a little bit. You look at your nutrition, look at your sleep, recovery factors. Usually those are the big dogs. And then if that's not working, then you play around with volume, or eventually you swap out the exercises. Okay. But yeah, guys, hopefully this gives you an idea of how to set up an initial workout program for yourself. And then once you set it up, you'll kind of learn, okay, what works, what doesn't work. And the big point here is the exercises. This is where you have to like experiment with things. And again, I'll make a separate video on how to choose exercises for your videos. I mean, for your workout itself, because there's a lot that goes into it, at least like thought process wise, especially for like upper day, a lower day. But yeah, hopefully this is helpful and hopefully this gives you a structure. If you guys have any questions, let me know. If you want sample workouts for 5 days, 4 days, let me know. I'll send over a Word doc. It'll probably be in the link as well. But again, any other videos you guys want to see, let me know. Any questions, let me know. All feedback is appreciated. Comment, subscribe. Let's get jacked together.